Welcome to the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Sunday, August 20th. Over the next few days, we'll continue to have the impacts from the remnants of Tropical Storm Hilary. The heaviest rainfall will occur today into tonight and Monday over the western half of the Great Basin. It's already moved up well into Nevada and Idaho. We're seeing some significant rainfall amounts already over the last 24 hours, and this will continue over the next 24 to 36 hours especially. As we move into Tuesday, we'll see more scattered thunderstorms. However, we will still see some significant moisture actually increase across Utah after much of the deeper moisture was further west, and then we'll still see some really good rainfalls up towards central Idaho towards our fires. But it looks like towards our fires in central Idaho this morning, much of the heavier rainfall will hold off until a little bit later today. We'll also have some gusty winds and lowered relative humidity in a dry slot on the east side of Hilary, moving up into eastern Utah over the next couple of days. Could see some RHs down into the teens with some gusty winds, but maybe winds not quite as strong as what they have been looking like, but still gusting between 30 and 40 miles per hour. Also within this heavier swath of precipitation, we'll see some very strong winds, some areas over 50, 60 miles per hour as Hilary continues to track north into the Great Basin. These strong winds coupled with the moisture, this is where we see downed trees, power outages, really significant impacts that are outside of the fire realm. Over the last 24 hours, you can see the lightning up across Idaho. Again, much of it didn't really get too close to Elkhorn, but right near it. Still some thunderstorms in the vicinity. And then over towards Ant, again, a little bit of a hole of lightning up there and shower activity. So just some spotty showers, but still good lightning up in Idaho, down into central Utah, and scattered across Nevada. The precipitation obviously is the bigger story. The precipitation down over the southern half of Nevada. We've seen reports over 1.5 inches, some areas down in Kyle Canyon over 2 inches of rainfall so far. It's still raining heavy, so again, we're really looking at these amounts to exceed the 2 to 4 inches of rainfall in many of these areas over the southern half of Nevada. Great Basin fire activity, we saw a spattering of new fires across the Great Basin from Utah up towards Idaho and into western Nevada. No significant issues with these new fires or our current large incidents at this time with the moisture surge. So looking at our ERC, the Severe Fire Danger Mapping System, again, ERC's very low across the area and will continue to decrease with the moisture. Looking at some of our ERC conditions up in central Idaho where we have our large fires, ERCs are just starting to come down with the moisture we saw yesterday, but will take more of a significant downward turn here in the next 2 days. Obviously, over southern areas and the rest of the Great Basin, we've seen more of a significant drop in ERCs. Our satellite loop from this morning, you can see Tropical Storm Hilary there right near the northern Baja coast. That will continue tracking north into Southern California and Nevada, and obviously the large swath of moisture that extends all the way across the western half of the Great Basin up into Idaho. This is the track of Tropical Storm Hilary at this time. So this morning will continue to move, or by this afternoon will continue to move over Southern California and then eventually up into western Nevada early Monday morning. So again, on the east side of the storm is where we'll see the strongest winds, but obviously significant amounts of precipitation. So as we move into later today, again, the moisture really doesn't change, just continues to pump north. So we'll continue to see those heavier rains track north across the Great Basin. Otherwise, low fire potential. We do have some areas still in the yellow. For southeast Utah, you can see this drier swath that moves up north, east of Hilary into the central Rockies. So again, we will see some lowered relative humidity and some gusty winds for southeast Utah. And then for the Payette, moisture just still hasn't really taken a hold yet, but that'll change later today. So our relative humidity, obviously significantly high humidity with the moisture over the western half of the Great Basin. But again, today we will see those RHs drop into the teens over eastern Utah with the gustier south to southeast winds that are between about 30 and 40 miles per hour. We'll also see some significantly stronger winds, especially going into tonight and tomorrow over the eastern and southern half of Nevada up into Idaho. So as we move into Monday, the moisture really starts to push north. So again, the heaviest precipitation is today through Monday morning, and then we'll start to taper off. As you can see, the drier air later on Monday working into the southern areas, but still the monsoon moisture will continue to get pulled up into Utah with that more tropical moisture north into Idaho. Otherwise, low fire potential. Again, on Monday, still some lowered relative humidities for eastern Utah with those gustier to stronger winds, but probably RHs maybe not quite as low as today, but still some areas dropping into the teens with those gusts between 30 and 40 miles per hour. Aside from that, relative humidity certainly remains elevated across the rest of the area after significant rainfall, but we will see these very strong winds even up north into Idaho as overnight tonight into early Monday, so we could see gusts above 50, 60 miles per hour. The National Weather Service has a swath of high wind warnings out for much of Nevada, the eastern half of Nevada, up into southern Idaho and western Utah. So definitely something to pay attention to. Again, these type of winds, especially with the moisture and the saturated soil, is where we see uprooted trees, power lines down, power outages, really significant debris flows in some areas as well. So flash flooding, the major concern here over the next 36 hours. On Tuesday, again, we see much of the moisture pushing up to the north. We will still see the swath of moisture in Utah, and we'll continue with the wetting rains up in Idaho with low fire potential. On Tuesday, relative humidity will be elevated everywhere. Still some gustier winds, not quite as strong as what we'll see today and tomorrow, but certainly gustier winds up in Idaho and much of the central areas of the Great Basin. The overall forecast amount of precipitation is impressive, anywhere from Southern California up into the Great Basin. So you can see the areas in red are rainfall amounts over 4 to 5 inches of rainfall. So again, really significant for the southern half of Nevada, even parts of obviously Southern California, but even up into Idaho, we are expecting rainfall amounts above 1 to 2 inches. So we will see, again, significant precipitation in all areas, and our main concerns will be flash flooding and debris flows, especially on our large fires, but really in a widespread area over the western half of the Great Basin. As we move into Wednesday, we will see drier conditions for the western half of the Great Basin and more of a typical monsoon push up into the southern and eastern areas of the Great Basin. Continued low fire potential, and on Wednesday that moisture pushes into really the southern half of the Great Basin. Again, this is not really tropical related anymore, more of our typical monsoon precipitation, but still very wet conditions after our very wet conditions we've been seeing recently and we'll see for the next couple of days. And on Friday, still drier in the west, and that moisture continues over the eastern half of the area and continuing on Saturday as well. So we're looking for, again, the rest of the week, still some wetter conditions, at least for the eastern half of the Great Basin. And then this moisture by Friday, Saturday will move up north again into northern Nevada and Idaho. So with the monsoon push later in the week, we will see that moisture return to the north as well with continued low fire potential. The 7-day total precipitation is just in addition to the 3-day, obviously with the monsoon push, a little bit more for the eastern side of the Great Basin going from mid to late week. The 8 to 14-day outlook from August 27th through September 2nd shows warmer conditions, but still above normal precipitation. That concludes our webcast for today. Check back tomorrow for the latest updates.